Yo, I remembered my password. I put out a first video kind of explaining what this channel was, and then I didn't upload for almost 3 months. So here I am. And yes, it looks a little bit different than intended. I was fully planning on shooting everything with this thing, being as anti-YouTube as I could. Holy shit. But the whole concept of this thing is I want to make this as easy as possible to record as well, the less friction possible, and setting up the digital camera is kind of a pain in the ass, and a whole reason why I haven't been making these videos. So look, it is what it is. It was a single video thing, but the rest of the concept remains. These are going to be fully unedited. See, leaving that in. And just some rants, just my thoughts. And today, I was jamming the new Bring Me the Horizon record, the Count Your Blessings, Repented album in the car on my way back from bringing the wife to work. And it got me thinking. We've been talking about this record for a few months now, since they dropped the news about it coming out, and they put out Black and Blue, they put out Dehumanized, the new song that they made for the record. So everyone's already given their thoughts, everyone's gotten their reviews out, and there will be a million more of those types of videos to come out today specifically. So I'm fully aware that this is just more noise within all of that, especially considering the secret channel aspect to this. But yeah, and look, I took a bit more caffeine than usual. This is day one of some brand new meds, so bear with me. These will always be rambly, but today might specifically be a little bit more than usual. So let's hop into it. We've been talking about this for so long, but I never really made a video or put my opinions out there. Used to do it a lot on stream with the podcast, but we don't stream really anymore. So that's it. I've been having so many conversations about this and never made it into some sort of content. So here is that. Also, look, my co-host Yan, he is the guy to talk about all this, MySpace Deathcore stuff when it pertains to explaining stuff to people and even giving his opinions, and specifically this Bring Me thing. So he'll be putting out more content, I'm sure, about that, and already has done so on the channel. So check that out if, for whatever reason you're here, you don't know about the videos he's put out on the subject already, but I digress. So I blasted this in the car on my way back, and I have a feeling, because I hadn't heard Black and Blue, I had heard Dehumanized, I have a feeling this was made specifically to blast full volume in a car. I don't know I don't know how to explain it, but listening to the other tracks before doing this run in the car, it's cool. It's the and this will be the premise of the entire thing, I think. It is the coolest thing in the world that this thing even exists. All right, so let's lead with that. But, it's a more modern production. It's gonna have stuff that people are going to enjoy, not enjoy as much. Everyone's gonna have their opinion on it, but the fact that it exists is already so big for the scene, for deathcore, in particular for MySpace deathcore, for the revival. But listening to the songs, for me personally, and Dehumanized included, it's cool, but I wasn't going back to it since then. But blasting it in the car, full blast, I think that's how it's meant to be heard. And I think specifically kind of on the production of it, I feel like the mix was made specifically for the breakdowns, and then they just, applied that mix to the rest. Because I feel even I've heard some people criticizing the sound of the drums and stuff like that, but it works really well in the context of the breakdowns. I think when the breakdowns, I know these songs, but I was laughing out loud every time a breakdown would come in, and the call outs and the bass boosts and all these things that happen when the breakdowns come in, his vocals included. Just heavy as fuck, and in a way that wasn't captured as much, I think, on the original recordings. Now, for the rest of it, I mean, it's it's a new take on it. For me personally, it's not really made for me. Like, I already love the old album. It's already one of those records that I've listened to countless amount of times. It's one of the records that got me into deathcore. So I already have a love for those songs. I didn't need like a new version for me to appreciate this. And I don't think that's what the goal was here, because I did see a lot of chatter online, maybe from some more old heads that are not enjoying the mix or not enjoying this or that about the re-recording. But I think, let's be clear, I don't think, and people will even equate it to fan service. And even that, I'm not so sure that was really the point here. I don't think it was really made, like, sure, nostalgia is a thing, and obviously they centered everything around the era. We'll talk more about the stuff surrounding the record. But I don't think ultimately this was made to make people who already enjoy the deathcore version of Bring Me the Horizon happy. It certainly gets those people talking and perhaps gets the word out to more people that are maybe keen to enjoy it after the fact. But I don't think it was made specifically for people like me. So I take that with, into consideration. But that being said, I think the main thing, if anything, that's going to come from this is just simply, new people hearing about deathcore for the first time because of this record. People that know Bring Me the Horizon and enjoy their more recent stuff. Because let's be real, you see a Bring Me the Horizon concert and you look at the age, the disparity in age in the crowd. And yeah, there's some older people, myself included, but there's a lot of kids. There's a lot of younger people that haven't necessarily been exposed to this type of music. They're going to be hearing this for the first time. And that's kind of been the joke. Like, oh my God, people who got into Bring Me through Ammo are going to listen to this for the first time and be so fucking confused. And yeah, but also I think it's, again, the recording isn't like an abrasive thing. Like it is a more modern approach to what that record was, which is way more palatable, I'm sure, and easier to understand and digest for someone who doesn't know deathcore, but is hearing it for the first time through just being a fan of Bring Me, which is awesome. We do have gateway bands in the scene right now. Slaughter to Prevail is a perfect example of that, I think. It's more of a spectacle alongside the music that's, I don't want to say dumbed down, because that's not, but there's like some simpler / catchier like stuff there, plus the spectacle of Alex, all that. They're like a festival band. They can easily play in front of, a shitload of people who don't know them and win some people over and get them into deathcore, which ultimately is a win for everyone involved. But I think Bring Me specifically doing this is going to have, at least in like a short-term thing, like as in like in a burst, like in a one-time thing, going to kind of explode the scene as we know it. I think we're going to have a lot of new people coming into the scene. It's going to become, it already is a young man's game with like the newer MySpace bands and stuff, and just newer deathcore bands in general. But I think this is gonna drastically reduce the age of the deathcore scene in general, which, in my opinion, is the best thing that can happen. We need these people. We need these kids to start making music. Yes, we're gonna start hearing a shit ton of new bands in 2026, 27 that are gonna sound like Count Your Blessings, and it'll be a weird thing because it's gonna sound like Count Your Blessings 2026. With maybe even that production and stuff like that, which, some people are going to enjoy. Old heads might not enjoy, but that's okay. Like, I think ultimately it's the same conversation we have about Lorna Shore blowing the fuck up, regardless of if you enjoy what current Lorna Shore is or not, regardless of if you enjoy Will Ramos's vocals or not. It is undeniable that the effect that band blowing up the way they have the effect that has had on the scene as a whole, including the stuff that I do. I get to yap on a podcast every single week. I get to talk to deathcore musicians every single week, musicians that people haven't heard of for decades. But that would have so much less of a spotlight if a band like Lorna Shore didn't blow up the way it did. The revival scene as a whole, I'm not convinced that even some of the bigger bands in the revival, if we're talking like the Reverence, the Psychoframes, like all these things, I'm not even convinced that those bands get as much of a light shown on them without Lorna Shore exploding. I think that's just what it's done for deathcore in general is undeniable. Everybody wins. Again, everybody wins. And there's going to be people, old heads specifically, that are going to be like, that's not my deathcore. I fucking hate this. I can't stand this style of music. All these bands are trying to copy Lorna Shore, yada, yada, yada. And while I agree, the overall impact is a net positive for sure. And I always say this through all of that, the good bands, the right ones, they're the ones that make it to the top. They're the ones that actually get the tour opportunities. They're the ones that actually get popular. That's what always happens. People are so worried about the dozens and dozens and dozens of copycats, but that's okay. We see them a lot now because of social media. They're pushing our face, and we seem to only see copycats of Lorna Shore. But ultimately, how many of those bands are actually the bands that are touring and doing the big things? Not many of them. And look at who Lorna Shore is bringing out on tour. It's not those bands either. So all that to say, large tangent, not really talking about Bring Me, but all this to kind of illustrate the point that I don't think people are realizing right now the impact that this record is having and will have for the next couple of years on deathcore as a whole. And hopefully, this is my hope, hopefully for the MySpace deathcore revival in particular. I do hope, and this will depend on what the scene decides to do with it. I think there will be more people in the scene de facto, no matter what. But I think whether it be creators, labels, the bands themselves, booking agents, management, like all if the industry as a whole is able to kind of take that and run with it. But again, if people realize it, this is why I'm kind of making this video in part. If people realize it and decide to quote unquote capitalize on it, I think this kind of movement where the more raw, more underground, more youthful, more energetic, that whole side of deathcore really has a chance to really blossom if done correctly. If people with the podcasts like me and Yan, if people like Yan make videos about it, spread the word, if the fans are spreading the word about this type of music, I think that the state at which the MySpace revival is at right now, coupled with this album coming out, could really make the scene explode. And it's obviously the revival is a bit of a response to, it's the other side of the pendulum to the very symphonic, very highly produced, polished kind of side of deathcore that we're in right now. That is the era that we're in. And the MySpace deathcore revival stuff is clearly like a response to that. And while normally I feel like it was already going to go, like swing back into that direction no matter what, I feel like this Bring Me record could really kind of accelerate that gap. And I'm not saying that the symphonic bands and the Lorna Shores and the Shadow of Intents and all these bands are not going to be big anymore. That's not what I'm saying. But I think the kind of mid-pack, the whatever is cool in the middle, I think will be more and more of the MySpace deathcore stuff, the more raw stuff. And I'm here for it. And for what it's worth, I've already heard, and this is before the Bring Me stuff, like before any of the announcements, any of this stuff. I can already think of a specific band that I've heard say, yeah, next stuff we're going to do we're going the Bring Me route, like that sort of. Not to say they're gonna do new Bring Me stuff, but just the old school Bring Me thing is like the direction they want to take it. I've already heard this from at least a band, and I think we're gonna have more of that. Obviously, the things that are gonna come out of that are gonna actually be cool are the ones that do it in their own way. Obviously, the band I'm thinking of will be one of those bands that it'll be the ethos, it'll be kind of a bit of the sound, but it'll be it'll be them because they're a band to begin with that make music that sounds like them. But that all that to say, like it's already something that was brewing before this whole thing, and I think we're only going to see more of it. Then to kind of piggyback on like the fan service kind of side of this record, like Bring Me had there's no reason for Bring Me to do this. So again, this thing existing in the first place is kind of wild. Them deciding to play these massive, almost arena shows with no barricade is fucking crazy. Bringing out, sure, Static Dress, they're homies and they're from where they're at, but bringing out Showing Teeth, bringing out Car Underwater, a fucking LA band that has like 5 songs to their name, to come play these shows. Dying Wish, like, dude. They have no reason to do this, and they could have done just the re-recordings and have that be a studio project, and Ollie could have had all the problems in the world to even get the vocal takes on the record, and even if it sounds good, maybe he struggled. Newsflash, he probably didn't. But all this could have been a thing, and then they could have just put out the record, and then that's it. But them playing these shows specifically to play the record is fucking wild. Again, for the size at which this band is. Like, they do not owe this to anyone. So it's cool. It's dope. I'm here for it. Is it nostalgia bait? Again, I don't think it was made specifically for the nostalgia. I think nostalgia, that era is cool now. But again, I think it's like the young kids that think that the era is cool. They're the ones that it's going to resonate with from a nostalgia front. So I don't know, kind of is, kind of isn't. We've seen the website updated a couple days ago. It's all like Windows 98, like, Y2, like early Y2K MySpace profile-ish to sell their merch and stuff like that. When Furnace Fest first announced them, the website was a MySpace profile as well. Yeah, obviously that's what they're going for, but at the same time, Bring Me's been doing a Y2K / like the cyber Y2K aesthetic for like a decade now. So this is by far not like super far removed from what they've already been doing to begin with. I do love the t-shirts, I miss old, bring me the horizon, like this sort of stuff. Like, they're very self-aware about the whole thing, which is the coolest thing ever. Aside from that, man, I think maybe I could cap it with this. Just the again, just to really emphasize the impact that this has. If I was kind of looking at some numbers before recording this, and like Dehumanized and Black and Blue, the re-recording, has got over 10 million streams on Spotify before the album even dropping. It's got the Dehumanized is over 2 million on YouTube. Like, this album is gonna like chart. It's gonna have enough plays and it's gonna have enough fanfare that like it's gonna be in places that 99.9% of deathcore never goes. If we compare it to anything Whitechapel's put out in recent years, which to me it's like Lorna, Slaughter to Prevail, and then the other bands in the pack under that are kind of like Shadow of Intent, Whitechapel. There's like a few bands in that kind of like third to fifth place kind of sitting. This instantly is bigger than any of those like any band that's not Lorna and Slaughter to Prevail. Instantly. One shot. And this will only keep going up with the release that, again, comes out today. And then even if compared to Lorna and Slaughter to Prevail, like, I don't think Bring Me is going to have a viral moment out of all of this. So I don't think there's like a song that's, because again, they're like old songs too. It's not like any of this is new. So I don't think any of those songs are going to randomly have like the biggest blow up on TikTok or who knows, but I don't think like a stream on YouTube is going to go fucking crazy. So it's hard to compare with Slaughter and Lorna, but even then it's like in the same, like immediately in the same kind of ranks. So it's crazy. Like, think about it. Think of Lorna Shore's impact, and then think of a second Lorna Shore, like the same thing, but like again, or like a Slaughter to Prevail, like all of a sudden dropping onto the scene. It's crazy. And again, pair that with the fact that most of the people that are going to be tuning in, realistically, are hearing deathcore for the first time, which is like not necessarily. I mean, for Lorna Shore, that was the thing when they blew up with to the Hellfire. That's why it exploded, because it hit the mainstream. It hit people that had never heard deathcore before, and that's why it was like so crazy to people for the most part. But anyways, just to illustrate like how big, like how that can completely change a fucking scene. Again, for better or for worse, we're gonna have to see. I think it's always going to be a net positive, regardless of how old heads think about it. And I guess I'll close with this. I mentioned it earlier. Like, is it for me? Again, like I've heard these songs before. There's a cool rendition. Again, I was laughing out loud in my car, jamming to this. I thought I was going to listen to it once and never listen to it again. I've mentioned this. I've texted people this, like, I thought this was I'll listen to it once. It'll be like an experience just to know what it is, to hear it once. I'll probably never listen to it again because why? For me personally. But I saved it to my library earlier. As I was listening to it and I was like, fuck yeah, dude. It's going to be my most spun thing of the year. It's going to be on my Spotify rap. Well, it won't, because I don't do Spotify, but will it be in my most listened things? Probably not. Definitely not, actually, for sure. There's way more exciting, to me, way more exciting stuff that's come out this year already. But it's cool. It's a cool thing, man. So I don't really got much else to say. I kind of got it out. Again, everyone's going to already have said most of these things. People are going to be dropping all the reviews, all the opinions on this record already, and this will die on the secret channel here. Regardless, but I wanted to get it out there because I had been thinking about it for an hour and a half in my car and walking the dog, and I told myself, when I have these thoughts, let's get them out of the system, out onto here. And then I maybe wanted to make a short reel about this, and my thoughts were not concise or laid out, so this might help for me. Might help me if I do end up doing that. So that's it. Maybe I come back with another video in another 3 months. Maybe next week. Who knows? I don't know.